They are some of the mansions of New Mexico, and they're hard to miss, but they may as well be invisible because the government didn't even know these palaces existed. But News 13's Larry Barker did, and his investigation revealed a mind-boggling blunder.
When the great Houdini made an elephant disappear from a New York stage in 1918, the performance became one of the most famous illusions of all time.
That was nearly 100 years ago. Today, there's a new vanishing act being played out on a grand scale here in New Mexico. The illusion is so dazzling, so astonishing, that even Houdini couldn't have pulled it off.
Consider this palatial luxury estate. Now you see it, and now you don't. Or how about this 7,600 square foot mansion? Wave a magic wand, and the opulent building simply vanishes into thin air. The same illusion can be performed on this stately country home. All it takes is a little hocus pocus for every square foot to vanish from the landscape. So, what's the secret behind this monumental disappearing act?
Now, this is not some elaborate smoke and mirrors magic trick. You see, the secret behind this high-class vanishing act involves bureaucratic blunders and tens of thousands of missing tax dollars. And ground zero for this spellbinding deception, Sandoval County.
For example, this $1.4 million luxury estate was built in rural Sandoval County 6 years ago. However, county records list the 5-acre lot as vacant land. Because the assessor failed to notice a 7,500 square foot house was sitting here, county taxpayers lost out on tens of thousands of dollars in property taxes.
What's wrong with this picture?
What's wrong with that picture is that this very lovely home is not on there.
Demesia Padilla is the Taxation and Revenue Cabinet Secretary.
If a property is missing from the property tax rolls, everybody else's tax bill is affected by the fact that the tax rolls are not accurate.
How about 39 Stagecoach Trail in the San Pedro Overlook subdivision? According to the assessor's records, this lot is undeveloped raw land. Nobody noticed this $650,000 7,600 square foot luxury home. And the homeowners? Well, they've gotten a free ride on property taxes every year since 2009. And then there's 13 Turquoise Drive. The property is assessed as non-residential land, just juniper, sagebrush, and rock. So when the assessor overlooked this cozy $320,000 4,300 square foot country home, taxpayers suffered the consequences.
To me, it's a little amazing when properties that are so big and so beautiful don't make it onto the tax rolls.
I feel responsible for letting that happen to begin with.
Tom Garcia is the elected Sandoval County assessor.
To me, it's very serious because I have an obligation to find this stuff and make sure it gets on the tax rolls.
You got a big luxury home, 7,000 square foot home sitting in the foothills, and the assessor doesn't know. What are your problems?
Well, number one is a lack of manpower.
There are more than 45,000 residential properties in Sandoval County. The assessor's office is responsible for appraising each one. With limited staff, Tom Garcia says some properties will fall through the cracks. The San Pedro Overlook subdivision is a gated community in a remote corner of Sandoval County. Because of its far-flung East Mountain location, Garcia says his appraisers haven't visited this area in probably a dozen years.
Is it possible that the homeowners did not know that their luxury homes were not on the tax rolls?
That's pretty difficult for them not to have known. Number one, they get a notice of value every year showing what's on the property. And in this case, the only thing that was on there was vacant land. So if they're living in a luxury home and they know they're living in a luxury home, they should have been reported.
Chick Hancock is a retired businessman. He built his dream house in San Pedro Overlook 6 years ago.
So about 6 months after we moved in, I got my first assessment, and it showed it as vacant land. A year later, assessment number 2 comes. It shows it as vacant land. And I called the assessor's office in Sandoval County.
No one returned his call, so Hancock called again and spoke with the assessor himself.
And I was very concerned that he would say, gee, it's been now some time since your house was finished, and I'd end up in a striped suit breaking rocks. Instead, he was very apologetic. He said, you know, I'm very sorry, the ball's in our court. That's such an isolated corner of Sandoval County. So, and we'll send somebody out. That was about 4 years ago.
Chick Hancock's 2015 property tax bill still shows this elegant estate as vacant land. The homeowners at 13 Turquoise Drive tell a similar story. Once their accustomed home was completed in 2013, they made repeated calls to the assessor to get the house appraised and on the tax rolls. Today, this lot is still listed as raw land. Insurance executive Ray Pratt completed construction on his Sandia Park home in 2009. He admits he did not pay attention to his tax bills and failed to notice his 7,600 square foot home was missing. Pratt says he's not a tax cheat. It was an oversight, and he says he will pay the back taxes.
The assessor's responsibility is to make sure that his tax rolls include all of the new construction. The homeowner's responsibility is to make sure that they notify the assessor that they have new construction, and if they get their tax bill and they see that their entire home is missing, they should make a phone call to the assessor.
In terms of these properties that you and I have been talking about, what can the property owners expect from this point forward?
Well, they'll get their house put on the tax rolls. They will receive a notice of value for the next year. As for all the prior years, okay, they can expect a bill for all those prior years.
Any homeowner who fails to report improvements will be subject to stiff penalties.
We need to pay our share, but gee, after 2 phone calls, I didn't think I needed to do any more prompting.
You think next couple of years you'll have every property in Sandoval County on the tax rolls?
Oh, that's a pipe dream, but I'm going to try my best.
Larry Barker, KRQE News 13.